If you're a medical professional trying to figure out how to balance investment returns with credit card interest, especially in today's market, you're going to want to stay tuned because that's what we're talking about today. Welcome. Our topic today is investing versus credit card debt, how to create a winning financial strategy. So, understanding investment returns. Investment returns defined, well, investment returns represent the profitability of investments. They're expressed as a percentage gained or lost over time. So, when you hear somebody say, I made 10% in a year, it's a percentage over 1 year. So, the impact on our financial future, well, understanding the investment return is really important as they directly affect our portfolio growth, meaning all of our growth, say in our 401k, our other investments, and influencing our long-term financial goals like retirement or education funding. So factors influencing our returns, this is market volatility. We hear that all day long in the news every day. Economic conditions, also in the news today. Asset allocation. What is asset allocation? We just had an episode on that. And that's really about how we're managing risk and our investment strategy to shape our investment returns. So asset allocation can be how it's taxed. It can also be, is it low, medium, or high risk? So these things guide us to make informed decisions so that we can optimize our returns and manage our risk. So we're going to explore our credit card interest here for just a second. So our credit card interest, we all get those statements. We all see the credit card interest refers to our cost of borrowing money when we carry a balance on our credit card. So it's typically expressed as an annual percentage rate. The words for that is APR. That's the abbreviation, and it can significantly impact your overall debt burden. So look at this as if you had to pay a 20% interest rate, which is very common right now. 20% is an average, typically 21, on a $10,000 debt that you didn't pay off in a year. So actually your cost wasn't $10,000. It was $10,000 plus the 20% interest. So 12% compounding the longer it takes to pay it off. So if you didn't pay it off in a year, the next year you're starting with 12,000, 20% on that, and so on and so on. So minimizing our interest payments to reduce the impact of our credit card interest, we want to consider strategies such as paying off our balances in full each month if possible, or transferring our balances to cards with lower APRs or lower interest rates, or negotiating with your credit card company for a lower rate. So I had a recent call with a medical professional that came in through one of my company not-for-profit webinars that I do on a quarterly basis. And they were very surprised in our discussion because they were dealing with some credit card debt. Their credit card debt came from being in the hospital, strangely, medical professional, and they were in the hospital and they built up some debt from that. They didn't have the cash to pay for it, so they put it on a credit card. So this has been chasing them for a while, being able to pay this off. So they've got a little bit of extra money every month. They're paying some of it off, but it's like, how do we finally get ahead of this? And I said, have you called the credit card company to see if there's any way that they would negotiate a better rate? And they were very surprised that you actually could do that. And I said, well, what do you have to lose, right? What if they say yes? What if they lowered a little bit? So that was one option, okay? So sometimes they may see an offer that offers you a 0% interest rate. We've all seen that for a period of time. And I would say it's kind of a way to refinance that debt over a period of time. And a lot of times they're going to give you 6 months, maybe a little bit more with no interest. But if you're going to do that, I would say be very careful and make sure that you read the terms, because once that probationary period, that free period is over, let's say it's 6 months, you need to understand before you get into it exactly what the terms are, because sometimes the terms are worse than where you came from. Okay. So let's say you had a 20% credit card interest rate that was, burning a hole in your pocket. You look at something and you say, I can refinance this for 6 months. It's going to buy me some time, no interest. But the reality was the interest rate, if you hadn't paid it off in that 6 months, is now going to be 25, 29%. And I would tell you too, to be very careful on some of the specialty cards. When I say a specialty card, it's not necessarily your regular American Express or your Chase Visa, but it has to do with shopping. So it could be at one of the major department stores. It could even be home shopping, things like that, because some of those are carrying an interest rate right now of 31 to 33%. I think it's criminal, but obviously I don't have any impact on that. So just be careful. And, when you're setting up something new, because we just want to make sure that you're not going to get in a worse situation than where you were before. So the importance of managing our debt. Well, exploring our credit card interest is really important for managing our debt effectively. And we want to make sure that we understand those hidden costs not only on new things that we're looking at, but the hidden cost on the current thing. So hidden cost, not necessarily so hidden, but what's a late fee? What's a late fee costing you? And you just missed it by a day, and they still charged you a late fee. So I would look at that carefully. And one way to avoid those things is setting up automatic payments. If you've listened to multiple episodes from mine, you hear me saying it all the time. I set up automatic payments on everything years ago because I was traveling and in different time zones, and it was kind of hard to keep track of things. And I said, I need to stop this nonsense once and for all, set it all up on automatic minimum payments, understanding that I can always pay more than what the minimum payment is, but at least I was avoiding any extra fees. So we want to take control of our finances and work towards achieving better financial stability. So now to the heart of why I wanted to talk about this today, evaluating the trade-offs on investment versus debt repayment, okay? So deciding between investing and paying off our credit card debt involves weighing the advantages and the disadvantages of each option. So pros and cons, consideration. We want to assess the factors. We want to look at potential returns on investments. We want to look at interest rates on debt. We want to look at our risk tolerance, right? Our financial goals to make our informed decisions. So that all sounds really good. But what I want you to look at is this, okay? Many medical professionals I speak with are feeling like they're way behind in saving for their retirement based on getting a late start to saving and investing due to student loan debt and the time it takes to really be earning a good living. It takes years. You've spent tons of time, tons of years, tons of money just to get to where you are, and you're pretty sick of feeling like you're behind. So because of that, it isn't unusual that they're investing with a goal of higher returns. So I want to have a little bit of fun with you right now to talk about higher returns and what you think about those. Okay, so here's something to think about. I've put all this on the slide. Looks a little bit noisy, but it's even harder to follow if you didn't have the data in front of you. And for some of you, you may want to rewind this for 30 seconds, watch it again, but the data is right there. So investment versus debt repayment. What is your definition of high returns? Okay, is it 10%? Is it 15%? Is it 20%? So keep in mind that higher returns usually mean higher risk, right? It makes sense. If I'm going to get a higher return, I'm taking a higher risk, which means I could lose my money. Okay, when we put our money in a CD, that's not high risk. We know what that is going into it, but it's also not a high return. So higher risk, higher return. So here's an example for you. We want to assume a 30% overall tax rate in both scenarios. Okay, when I say overall tax rate, I'm saying federal and state. I am picking a number. I'm not choosing the state you're paying taxes in. I'm not picking what your income is. I'm just doing this for the math. Apples to apples, 30% overall tax rate in both scenarios. So we've got an investment here of $10,000, and we're saying we've got a 20% profit. We're doing this in our 401k or our 403b. And so 20% profit on 10,000 is 12,000, right? Well, wrong. 12,000 before tax is actually $8,400 after tax. So the return is actually 14%. It's not 20%, it's 14% because we had to pay the 30% taxes because everything is happening on a pre-tax basis. Okay, so similarly, we've got a credit card interest. We've got $10,000 on our credit card, okay? Not the end of the world. A lot of people have a lot more than that, but $10,000 on a credit card, and we're paying 20% interest on the credit card. So that's $12,000, right? We haven't paid it in a year, so $10,000 plus 20% gives us $12,000, right? Well, not exactly, because your $10,000 in interest is after-tax money. Your money that you're paying on your credit card is after you've paid your taxes, right? So you had to earn $14,400 with a 30% tax bracket to net $10,000 and $3,000 just for the $2,000 in interest. So think about that. $14,400 plus $3,000, $17,400 just to pay the $12,000. So what is that? Well, it's a 45% return. Okay, you're going, what? How is that possible? So think about it. This is how your taxes play into it. But when I'm saying, higher returns being higher risk, well, there's actually no risk in paying off your credit cards, right? Other than not having any money in your pocket. So let's think about that. A lot of us have money that's sitting at the bank. Maybe it's sitting in cash. Maybe it's not a lot of money. Maybe it's money sitting in CDs, making a few percentage points. But our credit card is costing us after-tax dollars, right? Plus after tax to pay on the interest. So I'm going to go through this one more time. Okay. Investment is $10,000. We're looking for that 20% profit, which gives us $12,000. It's in our 401k or our 403b, right? Well, wrong, because $12,000 in before tax money actually nets $8,400 after tax. So that return is 14%. On the credit card, the inverse of that is this is after tax money. You had to earn the money, you're paying the taxes, all of that. So the summary on this is that you had to earn $14,400 to net the $10,000, and you had to earn $3,000 to pay for the $2,000. So $17,400 to pay off $12,000, right? You had to earn $17,400 to pay the $12,000, and that's a 45% return. So I ask you, which is a better investment? Okay. Well, the answer is, I don't want you to do all or nothing. I'm not an all or nothing person that you've got to do everything in one or everything in the other. So we want to evaluate the trade-offs and help prioritize our actions, whether it's building wealth or paying off our debt for our long-term financial stability. So I'm not saying that's 100% one or the other, but doing the math is going to help you make better financial decisions. Okay, so how do we take action? Well, we want to first start with actionable financial steps. So explore practical measures, enhance your financial strategy to reach your objectives effectively. Sounds easy, right? I know it's not. Customized approach. Nothing should be standard. You want to tailor your actions based on your personal circumstances, such as budgeting, saving, investing, or debt repayment. And then goal achievement. So by implementing these steps, you can proactively manage your finances and make progress towards your desired financial goals. So we've talked a lot today about how to get your money working for you versus against you. This is all part of getting your money working for you and accumulating efficiently for your hard-earned retirement. So while it may be hard to think about it right now, if you're dealing with some debt, I want you to look at retirement as a destination. A lot of people feel like retirement is so far out and are not sure exactly what to do now, but then what happens is they end up having to work a lot longer than they wanted to, or they have to reduce their lifestyle because they're not going to have what they actually want at that time in their life. So you could push this all off, or we can actually hop on a call and have a conversation about creating a safe, optimized strategy so that you can retire when you want on the terms that you want. Do you want the 6-hour train trip that has 10 stops, or do you want the express train? If you were planning a trip around the world, would you start planning it the week before you left? Well, don't do that with your retirement. It's the longest vacation that you'll ever have. On average, it's 22 years. So click on the link and let's talk about it. See you next week.